Welcome to the annual conference of the Wharton School's Jacobs Levy Equity Management Center for Quantitative Financial Research. I'm Chris Geczy, and I'm the academic director of the center, and it's my pleasure to host today's event. We have a lot going on at the center and a lot to do today, and as many of you know, we're excited in part because our program will culminate in a ceremony to award the 2019 Wharton Jacobs Levy Prize for Quantitative Financial Innovation to Professors Ray Ball and Phil Brown for their research linking stock returns to accounting data. The prize recognizes outstanding quantitative research that has contributed to a particular innovation in the practice of finance. Ray and Phil join a highly esteemed group of past recipients, Harry Markowitz, Bill Sharp, and Steve Ross. We selected this year's theme, Frontiers in Quantitative Finance, with Ball and Brown in mind. Today's paper presentations and panel discussion will delve into quantitative methods, asset pricing, and related topics that use accounting information and other financial data, much of which owe a great debt to Ray and Phil. Before we get started, I would like to take the opportunity to thank Bruce Jacobs and Ken Levy, whose generous gift to Wharton starting in 2011 and whose ongoing partnership and leadership not only established the Jacobs Levy Equity Management Center for Quantitative Financial Research and the Wharton Jacobs Levy Prize for Quantitative Financial Innovation, but has helped our center grow and flourish. The gift was made to commemorate the 25th anniversary of their firm, Jacobs Levy Equity Management, which they co-founded in 1986. Since then, Bruce and Ken have played a major role in bringing quant investing to the forefront, publishing a series of significant articles in leading professional journals, co-authoring a number of very well-regarded books, and generously supporting scholarship in finance. Bruce and Ken's gift to Wharton has helped ensure the school is a leader in research and scholarship in the field of quantitative finance. Through the center, we have awarded our 6th and 7th doctoral fellowships, plus a number of new research grants which directly aid faculty and student research projects. We also, as many of you I hope well know, maintain a working paper series, which I'm also excited to announce will soon be available on our own SSRN feed, in addition to the Jacobs Levy Center website. Each year, the most exceptional submissions to the Working Paper Series are recognized with the Jacobs Levy Center Research Paper Prizes. We'll honor the recipients of the 2018 paper prizes later in today's program. Today, we are holding our 7th large-scale conference and the 6th I've personally had the pleasure of hosting. This is just one of the many ways in which the Jacobs Levy Center works to promote and disseminate new research in quantitative finance and knowledge in finance. In the last couple of years, we've taken the show on the road, in addition, with a new series of events called Quant Around the Country, in which we feature research presented by faculty and researchers associated with the center to local audiences around the country and potentially around the world. Thus far, we visited Boston with Wharton faculty and center advisory board member Amir Yaron, whom some of you know is now the head of the Bank of Israel, and just recently, Los Angeles with advisory board member John Gerard of McKinley Capital. We're currently working on the next installment of the Quant Around the Country series, as well as plans for another installment of our center webinar research presentation series, which I encourage you to stay in touch with. I'm also pleased to share that we've established a visiting fellows program, which a number of you in this room might be interested in, which will bring esteemed researchers in the field of quantitative finance to our campuses in Philadelphia. These visitors, coming from both academia and practice, will engage with faculty and students in Wharton's finance department and around the school, sharing knowledge, exchanging ideas, and thinking about the latest ideas in quantitative finance. Now, speaking of efforts to foster new research, I would be remiss if I did not thank the Jacob Levy Center's corporate members who help make everyday progress and research support at the center, along with this conference, possible. AQR Capital Management, Kipos Capital, and McKinley Capital Management. Our corporate membership program directly aids the research of Wharton and Penn faculty and students in quantitative financial research, and we're most appreciative of the ongoing support of our members. So thank you very much. In addition, these members enjoy certain benefits, including early access to research, involvement in center activities, and other advantages and benefits. If you're interested in learning more about corporate membership, information is included in your conference materials. That's my only commercial. I'd also like to thank this year's conference sponsors who helped make today's event possible. They're Jacobs Levy Equity Management and Portfolio Management Research. At the Jacobs Levy Equity Management table, as many of you I think have already done, you can request complimentary copies of Bruce Jacobs' new book, Too Smart for Our Own Good: Ingenious Investment Strategies, Illusions of Safety, and Market Crashes, as well as Bruce Jacobs and Ken Levy's book, Equity Management: The Art and Science of Modern Quantitative Investing, both of which I see often in the halls of Wharton and certainly on the shelves of our students. You can request complimentary copies of all the Bernstein, Fabozzi, Jacobs Levy Award books, including the upcoming 4th volume. You can also visit the Portfolio Management Research table for a copy of a special issue of the Journal of Portfolio Management focusing on quantitative strategies and factor investing. You might also take the chance to learn more about the new online platform for the journal. So if you haven't already, please do visit their tables out in the ballroom, which will be open throughout the day. Moreover, as you can see, we have been busy. Moreover, we're also glad to have Sirius XM broadcasting live from the conference for the 5th consecutive year on the business radio powered by the Wharton School channel. The show, Behind the Markets, which is hosted by our own Jeremy Siegel, along with Wharton alum Jeremy Schwartz, will be live on the air from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. You can stop by and check out their setup just outside the room, actually. I truly also want to recognize this year's conference committee. Professors David Musto and Nick Rusinoff joined me in reviewing the roughly 100 paper submissions, and I should really say outstanding paper submissions. This was a very challenging job this year, which we received and helped craft the final program. Although they couldn't be with us here today, I thank them for all their efforts to make this event a success, along with Bruce and the team at Jacobs Levy for offering their thoughts and their input. Now, before I introduce with pleasure the Dean of the Wharton School, Jeff Garrett, I'd like to conclude with one more bit of really exciting news. Again, as you can tell, we have been busy. We're expanding our influence, our scope. The family is getting bigger. After all, this is becoming a family affair in many, many ways. We've had numerous various and sundry activities supporting the creation of new knowledge and research in quant finance that we've been focused on over the last 5 years. And I expect if our ongoing plans come to fruition, we will be busier still going forward. So I'm excited to announce that Craig McKinley, who is the Joseph P. Wargrove Professor of Finance at Wharton, and who many of you already know, will be joining me at this center and will jointly serve as academic directors as we expand the role of the center. Craig's been involved with us at the center for a number of years as a member of our advisory board and in various activities, including conference committees and so on. Again, I'm sure many of you know him. For those who don't know Craig, he's been on the faculty at Wharton since 1984, has received numerous awards, including the inaugural Eugene Fama Prize for Doctoral Education, the Wharton Undergraduate Excellence in Teaching Award, the IMCA Journalism Award, and for his book with Campbell and Lowe, the Paul A. Samuelson Award for Outstanding Scholarly Writing on Lifelong Financial Security. Craig has served as a research associate at the National Bureau of Economic Research, and since 1998 has been a member of the editorial board of the Journal of Investment Consulting. Although Craig is not able to be here today due to his ongoing teaching commitments, he's very much ready to be hitting the ground with me, and we look forward to working together in support of the Jacobs Levy Center's continued progress and growth. So a lot of amazing things happening, and we're so gratified that you're here and that you're part of the community that is so focused on the creation of new knowledge, dissemination of knowledge in quantitative finance. Now, it's my great pleasure to introduce the Dean of the Wharton School, Geoffrey Garrett. Dean Garrett's connection with Wharton goes back more than 20 years to when he was a faculty member in the management department from 1995 to 1997. In addition to serving as a dean, he's currently the Reliance Professor of Management and Private Enterprise and is a Professor of Management in the Management Department, and also a Professor of Political Science at Penn. Prior to his return to Penn, he was Dean of the Business Schools at both the University of Sydney and UNSW in his native Australia. a highly cited international political economist. He's been on the faculties at Oxford, at Stanford, and Yale. Dean Garrett is a respected commentator on global business, economics, and politics. And if you haven't already, I encourage you to follow his LinkedIn blog, where he regularly posts on a wide range of topics. And I try not to follow too many, but I certainly follow Jeff's, and I find it highly interesting and relevant always. Please join me in welcoming Jeff Garrett.
It's so impressive what's been happening at the Jacobs Levy Center, and the fact that there's now enough work not only for one but for two directors of the center, I think is a testament to all that's been achieved. This morning, I don't want to get in the way of what's clearly an incredible program, but I would like to say three things relatively briefly. The first one is just a shout out of thanks and congratulations to Bruce Jacobs and Ken Levy for all the incredible work that they do, not only out there in the world, but supporting the Wharton School. You know, when we think about friends and supporters of the school, I tend to go with the three W's: wealth, wisdom, and work. And we often say that, you know, it's nice if you get a little bit of one of those things from some people who help the school and a little bit of the another. Well, Bruce and Ken are triple threats because their wisdom in terms of prompting the school to push forward on quant finance in lots of different ways is invaluable. They're respectful and forceful, which is a great combination. Chris already spoke about the extraordinary financial support to the center that Ken and Bruce have provided. That's the second W. But the third one is work. The amount of sweat equity that Bruce and Ken have in the center is quite extraordinary. And that's evident, I think, to people who come to this conference and other events. Bruce and Ken are always here. They're always in the lead. They're willing to roll up their sleeves and do almost anything. So 2 words for you both. First, congratulations. Congratulations on all you've achieved. Second, profound thanks from me and the school for all that you do. My second observation is about accountants, and as I've said to a couple of people in accounting that I know, I'm going to resist my normal temptation to make accounting jokes. So I've resisted the temptation to make any jokes about accountants. But I think that, you know, the seminal paper that's being celebrated here today, the point of that paper, the fusion between accounting and finance is just a profound reality. The amount of material information that's useful to investors that is the normal domain of accountants is extraordinary. And I guess probably when you were doing the work, I'm not going to say how many decades ago, when the seminal paper was written, I presume most of the thinking was about numerical data in accounting. But when I think about the frontier today, you know, now that we can do natural language processing and other stuff, just imagine what will be possible in terms of the information, the signals that will come out of written reports from companies that will be useful to investors. So this was certainly a seminal paper that set a whole many decades worth of work. But I think we might even have a whole new 2.0 of that now that we can digitize things that aren't ones and zeros and extract signals from them. I think that the trajectory is only going to get more powerful going forward. So here's to all the accountants in the room. Third observation, even though I probably don't sound like it, I can never tell anymore, I am Australian. And therefore, I couldn't be happier than to have the celebration today be focused around 2 of my fellow countrymen. So I'll take 1 second just to express a little bit of pride in Australia. What I would say about Australian higher education, particularly at the undergraduate level, is the bang for the buck is quite extraordinary. And I think all of us, all the Australians in the room, did something that's a unique feature of Australian higher education. It's called the Honours Year, which after your undergraduate degree, you get to do, in essence, a pre-PhD experience for 1 year, parens at taxpayers' expense in Australia, which puts Australians on an incredible path if you want to pursue further education. But this is the second part, and to my mind, the most important one, particularly for an audience such as this. And it's the following observation, that every one of the Australians in the room did an undergraduate degree in Australia and came to the United States and did a PhD. And when that happened, certainly for me, I try to describe what it meant for my life, and I find it almost indescribable because the opportunities that became available to me because I came to the US were ones I literally could never have envisioned. So, we always ask young people, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? I literally couldn't have had a plan to tell a story for me where I could go from being a kid growing up in Canberra and thinking I was going to work in the Australian government like my father, my brother, my sister for the rest of my life, and instead I get to work at some of the best universities in the world. That's something that I cherish. I cherish profoundly, and I think it's probably shared by all of the Australians who are in the room today. But think about its impact on the United States. When I think about the dynamism of the American economy, I think about a two-way nexus between immigration and innovation. America's a really innovative place, and a lot of the innovators in the US came here from other countries. Why did we come here? We came here because America is a magnet for talented, ambitious people who want to change things. So even though I've benefited profoundly at a personal level from being in the United States, I also hope humbly that I've made some kind of contribution to this country. And I certainly believe that's true of the recipients of the prize today. I know it's true of many other people in the room. And why would I concentrate on that? I concentrate on that because I'm so profoundly disturbed by the negative press that immigration gets, not only in the United States, but in most Western countries today. I find it profound and profoundly saddening that countries that have literally been built on migrants are now turning their backs on migrants and saying that migrants are part of the problem, not part of the solution. I think all of the people who are going to be on the stage who have weird accents like mine with very nasal vowels certainly appreciate the opportunities that we have received in the United States. But I believe that the secret sauce of America has been its openness to talented, ambitious people from the rest of the world, and I certainly hope that that will continue for a very long time. So it's just a real honor for me to be here this morning representing the school and to be a proud Australian and a proud American. So I hope you have a wonderful day at the conference. A dean's life is full of many calendared meetings, and I've got to go to my next one, but it's a real honor for me to be here welcoming you all this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris and Dean Garrett, for your very gracious remarks. Good morning. Welcome to the 2019 annual conference of the Jacobs Levy Equity Management Center for Quantitative Financial Research. Ken and I established the center in 2011 in honor of our firm's 25th anniversary. Our goal was to spur the creation of ideas that make a real impact on the practice of finance. The theme of this year's conference is Frontiers in Quantitative Finance. 67 years ago, Harry Markowitz published Modern Portfolio Theory's seminal paper, Portfolio Selection. In contrast to some other fields of scientific inquiry, ours is quite young. Our body of knowledge is subject to constant reappraisal in light of new insights, new technology, and new data. Nothing illustrates this point better than the papers that will be presented today. Our first presentation, Anomaly Time, by Matthew Ringenberg, examines the persistence of anomaly returns. I won't give away the findings, but I will offer a piece of advice. Strike while the iron is hot. Patty DeChow will discuss Matthew's findings. Our second topic of the morning, Accounting for the Anomaly Zoo, a Trading Cost Perspective, by Andrew Chen, examines anomaly returns post-publication. Another piece of advice. You need to use anomalies in a sophisticated and cost-effective way in order to profit from them. Ingrid Tierens will be the discussant. Following lunch, we'll present the 2018 Jacobs Levy Center Research Paper Prizes. A panel discussion will follow on accounting informativeness, 50 years since Ball and Brown. Our panel members are S.P. Kothari, Scott Richardson, Richard Sloan, and Dave Zion. Kathy Schrand will be the moderator. Next, Leonid Kogan's paper, a production-based economic explanation for the gross profitability premium, examines the sources of the gross profitability premium, which in recent years is included in many factor models. Jessica Wachter will comment on the paper. The conference will culminate with the presentation of the 2019 Wharton Jacobs Levy Prize for Quantitative Financial Innovation to Ray Ball and Phil Brown. Ken and I will present the prize medals in recognition of their influential work linking stock prices to accounting data. Ray will accept the medals on behalf of himself and Phil, who was unable to join us today. All of you are invited to the cocktail reception at the end of the program. Ken and I look forward to chatting with you. Now I'll turn it back over to Chris, who will introduce our first speaker. Thank you.